بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد المؤمن القوي خير وأحب إلى الله من المؤمن الضعيف. A strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than a weak believer. وفي كل خير, but there is goodness in both because Allah has granted them Iman. But a strong believer is more beloved, more mahbub in Allah. احرص على ما ينفعك ولا تعجز. Strive to seek that which will benefit you and not feel helpless. So a believer is making effort, and what is a strong believer? Ulama have written قوة الإيمان, making effort on Iman and yaqeen. هي القوة في كل أمر من أمور الدين والدنيا. Strengthening his Iman, his Amal, his Deen, and also with regards to dunya, asbab wise, means wise, physical strength, physically or deeni wise, ta'a, obedience, ibadah, ilm, etc. Quwwatul badan, strengthening physical health, etc. Asbab wise, a believer is prepared. That's why they say, prepare whilst others are daydreaming. Always expect the best and prepare for the worst. Only the best, prepare for the worst. So that which Nabi alayhi salam has forecasted to happen will definitely happen. The people of Iman, whether they living in that era or not, asbab wise, a believer has a vision and a foresight and does not get caught where they are unprepared. In one riwayat, when Nabi alayhi salam told Sahaba that there would be turmoil, there will be fitnas, there will be problems, there will be situations, there will be halat, there will be conditions, there will be trials, there will become, you will face all of this turmoil, and the one which is seated would be better than the one who is standing. The one who is standing is better than the one who would be running. So when the turmoil comes or appears, then the one on his camel should stick to his camel, and the one who has sheep or goats should stick to his sheep and goats, and the one who has land should stick to his land. So there's a lot of mani, mafhum, understanding. We need to go to ulama and understand Quran and Hadith. So somebody said that what if a person doesn't have a camel, sheep, land, etc.? So Nabi alayhi salam said, "O kama qal," he should take hold of his sword, beat its edge with the help of a stone, sharpen your sword and find a way to escape. So asbab wise, when that era, when that occasion of turmoil and disruption comes, then a person has secured themselves. Riwayat of Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anh, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, by the being whose hands is my life, the world would not come to an end until a person would pass by a qabr. He would roll over it. He will have a desire to be in the place of the occupant of that grave. Because of the halat and the fitnas, another riwayah, a time would come when the murderer would not know why he has committed the murder, and the person killed, the victim, would not know why he was murdered and killed. So in history so much tarikh is filled, but the people of Iman are vigilant for occasions where they don't fall prey to this here. A simple example which recently in the leaks, and this is not part of our topic, but just by the way, just to understand this riwayah. So these great pharmaceuticals, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Sinovac, Pfizer, etc. There are reports that there is graphene oxide graphene oxide, which is a poison which is destructive, and it can cause physical destruction and even DNA damage. So this graphene family of nanomaterials has not been approved by the FDA for human consumption. It's not been approved. Now if we go back, then Sinopec is a company from China which manufactures the graphene oxide, and it is in their patents. So if you look at the big vaccine companies, then the lipid nanoparticle formulation, which is called pegylated lipids, the formulation of this here, they do not list this in part of their patents. Why? Because they are allowed to have a secret formula which won't be disclosed. It's called a trade secret for the patents. They do not need to list it. But there's a company from China, Shanghai Nanotech, who has filed for the patent. Now we've discussed previously on the Signs of Qiyamah series that how China plays a role in being the next superpower of the world, and details there we could go to those bayanat and listen. But just for our topic now, the patent in China shows that graphite oxide is the main ingredient, and what's the speciality of this? It is it's a AI, artificial intelligence template, where we can create an interface between computers and humans, and that's the same hydrogel where Elon Musk, Gates, etc. have been doing research to create a link between technology 5G and humans. And that's why the vaccine will not be a once-off thing. You'll have to be taking it perpetually. And the waves of COVID, ideally the drums have started, and after the drums comes the destruction. So somebody might ask, what's graphite oxide speciality? So it has extraordinary electronic properties. Itself, it's an insulator. It's almost a semiconductor. Currently it's supposed to be neutralized, but once you create an electromagnetic field, it can be charged. So the host, when you get it close to an electromagnetic field, it can now be charged. So Batil will never give Haqq a chance. They will make you think that they're on your side, but they really never were. So in the name of humanity, now the person that's giving this, the person that's receiving this here, the consequences nobody knows, nobody has realized it. Fima qutil, why were you killed? Oh, he doesn't have a clue. So that's Batil and the planning of Batil. A lawyer was talking to his client, and it so happened he was fighting the case and he was found guilty of murder. So he had to come break the news to his client. So he told him there's good news and bad news. So the prisoner said, might as well give me the bad news first. So he said, you get in the electric chair. He said, if that's the bad news, what good news can there be? He said, I managed to get the voltage lowered. I managed to get the voltage lowered. Doesn't help, no benefit. So they're giving you all the good news and they're telling you that it's going to do this and it's going to perform this and it's going to save humanity. But the dosage is there. The dosage is there. So if you want to understand the riwayat and the fitan which Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam has warned us, then probably this is an era where everything is unfolding in front of our very eyes. Yet we are still laxed. We are still in our comfort zones. We are contented. Our salah is still haphazard, hit and run. Our du'as are not even more than 3 minutes every day. In the darkness of the night, when the ummah is supposed to be crying in front of Allah, making a decision between them and for humanity, making a faisla in the asman, we are engaged in sin, ma'asiyat, disobedience. movies, surfing the net, etc., etc., etc. We are lucky to make a khatam in Ramadan, but we are making khatams of WhatsApp every day. We're supposed to be uploading Amal Salihah, good deeds for decisions to come from the sky, but we are uploading our sins on social media platforms. We are downloading different apps for disobeying Allah. Then we are saying, why? What did we do? What went wrong? Our Akabir say, we have to say, what right thing have I ever done? Our masajid are still empty, but the places of entertainment and sports are full. The places of vice are full. They're getting populated. So this notion that Dajjal will come, he'll look like one ugly, evil character, and people will see him, you circulate it on platforms, and game over, we found you, Dajjal. ما بين خلق آدم إلى قيام الساعة أمر أكبر من الدجال. Ajib, Nabi alayhi salam is warning us from Adam alayhi salatu wasalam till Qiyamah. There isn't something more grave, more devastating, more destructive, more annihilating, more damaging than Dajjal. ما من نبي إلا وقد أنذر به أمته. Every Nabi that came warned his ummah. Means even though Allah Jalla Jalalu knew he will not come in the eras, Allah commanded the Nabi to warn his people, because this is such an occasion of such gravity and magnitude. يَجِيءُ مَعُ بِمِثْلِ الْجَنَّةِ وَالنَّارِ. He will come with paradise, but it is narun, it is hellfire. He will show you things, he will tell you it is beneficial, he will show you, but that is destruction. So amongst the different turmoils that can happen and possibly face, Allahu Alam bis-sawab, is number one, nuclear warfare, a world war. If you look at from 1986, where there were 70,300 active weapons, and currently now 3,750 active nuclear warheads, that's around 14,000 nuclear warheads currently in the world. And the agreement that was made to decommission these weapons, many of them are just stored, partially dismantled but not destroyed. If you look at just the US nuclear arsenal, when the Cold War was at its peak, at its height around 1966, there were 31,175 warheads. And the US during the Cold War built approximately 70,000 nuclear warheads. More than 70,000 nuclear warheads. The Soviet Union arsenal contained around 45,000 warheads at its peak. And they had built, since 1949, 55,000 nuclear warheads. So whether it's the submarines, whether it's the strategic bombers, ballistic missile submarines which have been equipped with these nuclear warheads, there's a huge amount. And if we look at what researchers are saying in the American Geophysical Union, one of the professors, Richard Turco of the University of California, said that detonating between 50 and 100 bombs, just around 0.003% of the current arsenal, would throw enough soot into the atmosphere to create such anomalies, such unprecedented situations ever seen in human history. The earth would come to a standstill. Almost 90% of the world population would be obliterated. Besides the nuclear attack, they're saying, if people don't die of the nuclear attack, the lack of water and food or the cold or heat. Why? What would happen? Firstly, there would be a nuclear winter. So, and the nuclear winter would be from the soot that would come from the nuclear explosion. That's excluding the fires which the forests would burn. The day would become night, and millions of people, they call it a nuclear winter, which could last, some research say, from 3 to 5 years, some say up to 10 years, depending on the devastation, would cause freezing summers in areas in deserts. We would have snow. It become freezing point. So the temperatures on earth would be abnormal. And when there is a nuclear winter, all food, all production, all supplies, everything would stop. All livestock would die on earth. The humans that are above the earth and do not have any means to protect themselves from the cold would die. Besides that, if the winter would subside and light would come on earth, then the ozone level would be destroyed and there will be radiation on earth. So currently now, 9 nations, the Russia, US, France, China, UK, Israel, Pakistan, India and North Korea, have nuclear warheads. We were just talking of a fraction of the exposure. That's besides the nuclear warheads impact. Otherwise, whoever is in the vicinity would face death, and anybody who's 5 miles away from the explosion would suffer third-degree burns. People that are up to 53 miles away would suffer the consequences. So when an explosion happens, there is like dust or sand-like radioactive particles which disperse into the atmosphere. This is called a nuclear fallout. So that's a separate thing which will cause radiation poisoning, damage the body's cells, and would be fatal. So the destruction alone, forget the nuclear warheads destruction and people dying from that, but just the subsidiary effects is consequential. So this is just one example which in any given time, if the people of Batil, some system had to be activated, 90% to 95% to up to 99% of the world's populace. And these nations have backup plans. So even if our control center goes down, we've got a plan B. They've got some marines that can run autonomously with the FCOs, etc., different activation systems. The point being that we have underestimated the coming of Dajjal. We have underestimated what fitness can come, where a person will sell their deen. Hazrat Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas radiallahu anhu was amongst his animals, and his son came. So he was doing his own thing. He seen Sa'd. He said, "A'udhu billahi min sharri hadha rakib." I seek refuge from this rider. So he descended. And he said, "Anzalta fi ibilika wa tarakta an-nas yatanaza'un al-mulk." So Umar said, because the father said, "I seek refuge from this rider." So he said that you've left the kingdom and you've left people to dispute, and you were here with your camels here. So Sa'd knocked him in his chest and he said, "Uskut, silence, keep quiet. سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن الله يحب العبد التقي الغني الخفي." Allah loves that servant who is taqi, pious, as we explained in the beginning, al-ghani, to be independent. When systems go down, things crash. Ghani, be independent, be prepared. Be prepared for all situations. Al-khafi, concealed. What ulama say? Mu'ridhan an ahli zamanihi, that you turn away from people of the time and you mind your own affairs, you do your own thing. Muqbilan ala sha'nihi, that you stay low profile, you prepare what needs to be done, you do what needs to be done, and you don't rely on anybody else. and everything is done low profile. So the ta'aleem of nubuwa, the teachings of nubuwa is there for us. We need to go to the ulama, start spending more time. We need to change now, not tomorrow, not next week. Al-mu'minul qawi, strong in all aspects. Iman, amal, and asbab. May Allah give us tawfiq wa make it amal wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.